Hello, my name is Jeremy Tong. I'm a consultant paediatric intensivist working in University Hospitals of Leicester. Today I'm going to talk to you about paediatric sepsis. Let's start with looking at the scope of the problem. So here's 1,000 children. Out of the 1,000 children, every year about 1 will develop sepsis. So that's an incidence of about 0.9 per 1,000 per year. In a large paediatric department assessing 50,000 children a year, we expect to see about 1 a week, and half of those cases will be newborn. The mortality rate for paediatric sepsis is in the region of 6 to 12%. So that means that every day somewhere in the UK, 1 child will die from sepsis. I work in the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, where we commonly see sepsis. In the UK, approximately 1,000 admissions a year to PICU is for sepsis. That's over a quarter of our workload. The hospital length of stay for paediatric sepsis is just over a month, but most children will have to stay 2 weeks or more. So looking at our child with sepsis, how do we pick out that 1 child potentially with sepsis from the many children that we assess with very similar problems? I think the problem with spotting sepsis in children early is that unlike a condition like meningococcal sepsis, which is a widely known condition, it has obvious signs that people can pick up on. Other forms of sepsis can have very subtle signs that are similar to more self-limiting illnesses. When you have a trigger such as trauma or an allergic reaction or infection, it can lead to a series of events in the body that causes a systemic inflammatory response, or SIRS. For SIRS in children, you need to have at least 2 of the following: a temperature that's too high or too low, a heart rate that's too high, a breathing rate that's too high, or a white cell count that's too high or too low. And for it to count, you need to have at least 1 of temperature or white cell count criteria. Sepsis is systemic inflammatory response with a proven or suspected infection. Severe sepsis is when you have sepsis and organ dysfunction, either cardiovascular or respiratory, or 2 or more other organ dysfunctions such as acute renal impairment or seizures or altered mental state. When we have severe sepsis in association with cardiovascular dysfunction, we call that shock. This includes a reduced blood pressure, unexplained acidosis, a raised lactate, reduced urine output, or reduced perfusion in children. There are tools out there available that will aid in your recognition and management of sepsis in children. Here's an example. It's called the Pediatric Sepsis 6, and it was created in conjunction with the UK Sepsis Trust. So the Pediatric Sepsis 6 recognition is very similar to the Goldstein criteria for SIRS. If you have a suspected or proven infection and at least 2 of the following, either a core temperature that's below 36 degrees or above 38.5 degrees, or you have an unexplained high heart rate that is out of keeping with the child's fever or pain or fear, an altered mental state, and in a baby that will include sleepiness, irritability, lethargy, and floppiness. Or you have reduced peripheral perfusion or prolonged capillary refill time, then you need to think, could this child have sepsis? They might not, but if you have any doubt, consult a senior clinician or somebody with more experience. When you decide a child has sepsis, there are 6 elements of care that can be delivered within an hour that will improve their outcome. So first of all, you give high flow oxygen. You want to get intravenous or intraosseous access as soon as possible and take some baseline bloods. We would recommend a blood culture, a fluid blood count, a blood gas including a lactate. After you've done that, it is imperative that you give IV or IO antibiotics. I can't stress that enough, and we'll come back to that. Once you've done that, consider giving a fluid bolus. You need to reassess as you go along, but start with 10 or 20 mils per kilo of fluid bolus. At this point, if the child is not getting better quickly, you'd want to involve a senior clinician or somebody more experienced as soon as possible. We would also consider starting inotropic support at an early stage. And I want to come back to the point I made earlier, that is, give IV or intraosseous antibiotics. It is very important to give antibiotics early because bacterial growth is exponential. That means that every 20 to 30 minutes, the bacterial count in the bloodstream will double. So that means if you start with 500 bacteria, after just 6 hours you will have 500 million bacteria. And therefore, do not delay giving antibiotics. In adults, for every hour you delay giving antibiotics, the mortality rate goes up by 7.6%. It is very important that we give the antibiotics early in children also. We recognize that using clinical toolkits to treat children may lead to a few more children being treated for suspected sepsis when it wasn't necessary. But for those who do have sepsis, it's very important for their outcome that they get their antibiotics early. Antibiotics save lives. And if there's any doubt, consult a senior clinician or somebody with experience. As a wise man and a brother of someone who's died from sepsis said, spot it, treat it, and beat it, and we can all become sepsis heroes. For further information, please email me, jtong@nhs.net, or contact me via Twitter at jez_tong. Further resources can be found at the UK Sepsis Trust and spottingthesickchild.com. Thank you very much.